Hello, all. Welcome to the Happy Career Guru. Over the last 4 weeks, I've been doing these conversations around what I call the Career Optimist series. And one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today is about collective success, where I believe everybody should be working towards collective success. Now, when you talk of collective success, it's not too far behind to talk about teams and how teams operate, and how teams should be working together to drive the success for the organization. I have with me today one of my friends from last 12 years. He was my neighbor for about 10 years. He worked in Cisco at the same time I worked in Cisco for over 12 years, has been leading teams in Cisco and now in Microsoft for over 15 years, and has been talking about mentoring and advising, and actually has been advising and mentoring a lot of startup founders over the last 2 years. Please welcome to the show, Vivek. And this is Vivek Kaka. And
Thank you,
Vivek,
Prasad. It's great to be here. You are a good friend, but you also are very progressive. So always great to chat with you.
thank you very much, Vivek. And let me start with one question. You've been leading teams, and I actually saw some of your other posts where you talked about mentorship in one of your other podcasts. The point is, why is mentorship and coaching and all of these things important to you? Before we even get to the team success, I wanted to understand your point of view as a leader in terms of specifically around coaching and mentoring and lifting groups up.
Two words, Prasad: growth mindset. I'm a big fan of that. I have practiced it unknowingly for many, many years before, but now I practice deliberately. And I feel that everybody who has demonstrated growth mindset has been able to achieve great things. So coaching, learning from others, practicing growth mindset, they are all part of the equation. And that's why it's very dear to me. And today's topic about teams, I think the fundamental for any team is as well growth mindset, not just for individuals, but even for teams. So this is a very dear topic to me.
Perfect. And before we get to the actual collective success and the teams, one interesting thing is Google, apart from the famous project Aristotle they did, where which they talked about what do great teams look like. They also did a project called Project Oxygen, which is about what great managers look like. And one of the things out of the 10 things that they wrote there was good managers need to be great coaches. So in that context, I can clearly see where you're going with that. Now let's come to the part of teams. You managed teams for over 15 years, right? Now,
Yeah.
what makes a great team? Like, give an example from your past in terms of where you looked at a team and the way the team was structured, the way the team operated, and the way the team delivered. Give an example in terms of what made it work.
Yeah.
So if that, and then we'll
So
get it.
there are many.
Slowly after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are many aspects which we can speak here around setting such a team up, setting the environment for such a team, and so on, and what a leader must do. I think we'll get to that, but I think let's talk about the outcome first, right? What makes a team high performance, and what qualifies or defines it, right? So a team, whether it's a co-located team or it's a virtual bigger team, global, I think a high performance team is growing their capabilities. So they're always rising to the business needs. Because of that, they are aligned with the business needs, and they are lifting everybody in the team to be able to fulfill the business needs. And of course, that means that they are not only ramping up technically, but they are also ramping up how they increase ownership for their how they create for their customers, how do they connect with their customers, right? And all of these things produce one thing, and that is craftsmanship. So I would say a team which is growing has a great attachment to craftsmanship and is doing the right thing for the customer, has great customer obsession, is a high performance team, and is what we call we all want a growing team like that, right?
Coming back to the one other question based on your response, not every group that we see is a team, right? And the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, like Aristotle said, right? Now,
Yeah.
all of these things indicate that when a group of people come together and with the right method, something different happens. Now, that's exactly what we call teamwork and the power of teams and stuff like that. How do you go about building a great team from ground up? Let's assume you get started with something, you're bringing a group of people. What would be the process that you would take to actually build a great team?
Yeah, that's a very good problem for a leader as well as managers at every level, because it's a teamwork even for that setup. It's not one man's job at any point, right? But I think the most important piece of this puzzle is um, aligning the vision of the leadership to the team's backlog, whether it's a co-located team or a distributed global team. Making sure that the CEO's vision or the company's vision or the organization's vision is clear, is articulated multiple times in multiple ways, whether it's all hands or monthly reviews or individual location team meetings and so on, or even in one-on-ones, that those visions are articulated and there is direct visible connection between that vision and the backlog every individual is working on. I think this is fundamental, and often a lot of companies actually don't spend a lot of energy on this, and leaders as well, right? So, but once this is done, what that gives you is a lot of passion from everybody, because now they can see a direct connection between their work and the greatness of the company.
Okay.
And you definitely, because of that, you get exceptional performance from everybody because of that. So that's a prerequisite play which I feel every leader should enable, right from CEO to his subordinates and everybody down to the mid level and so on.
Perfect.
So that's about the backlog and the vision. And that gives us consistency. It gives us the same terms and same talking points and everything. Now, beyond that, when you go into the executions, a leader can set up the environment, he can talk about craftsmanship, he can talk about growth mindset, but how do you scale that? How do you scale that across a location, across global locations, and so on? So the way you do that is you educate, train, coach, and hire your advocates, which are already in your groups, but you talk to them. Not everybody will be advocate, not everybody will be a catalyst, but many will be. So whether you have a senior manager or a manager, or whether you have a senior IC, talk to them, hire them as your catalyst, so that they are talking in the environmental language which leaders are talking about, so that the execution scales a little bit, the environment scales a little bit. And then, of course, besides growth mindset and teams working as a team, these catalysts, when they work shoulder to shoulder with other engineers, they can manage the negativity. They can answer some of the negative questions which may pop up during lunches or during stand-ups and so on. And that's how you scale. So this is a whole blueprint which I feel is very effective when you link the vision to the backlog, but you also create a catalyst, and then that's how you scale it. So that's the scalability play which I really advocate every leader should do.
Perfect. So actually, if I sort of summarize what you said we have to start with a shared purpose that comes right down from the top.
Yeah.
Then we have to consistently reinforce that shared purpose so that people actually start understanding their role in achieving that purpose. On top of it, you actually are saying that we need to also have, it's not just one leader who can take care of everything and make sure the team is banded together. Even within the team, you need to have advocates within the team who keep the team morale up and can clearly understand when they can almost see, have an emotional connection with the rest of the team. So they know that if somebody is not necessarily feeling it, how do you at least get them back into the team, get them back into the fold, and make sure that we are again going into the same direction towards the purpose?
Exactly. You summarize it very well. And then there are other elements which are related to emotional safety or autonomy and certainty and things like that, which, if are missing, can trigger fearful responses in people and actually could be detrimental to teamwork. So those things need to be also catered to, right? A leader or managers can make sure that any negativity, or either through vision or just through people in the team, that nobody is introducing autonomy issue or a status issue among people. People work well when they feel that they have a sense of status. Even if you have an individual contributor who is early in career, he has a sense of status, and if he feels that he feels accomplished every day, that he is contributing, challenging himself and contributing to the vision, he will have a great sense of purpose, but also a great sense of status.
Makes sense.
And all those things are very important. So you know rewards, and rewarding craftsmanship, and the quality deliverables, and adhering to dates and commitments, all those things are actually useful, and those are the tools we all know about, right? That are so fundamental, but often we forget.
Yeah. And actually, I will hold on to one thing that you said, where you talked about emotional safety. Now, I referenced this project called Project Aristotle that was done by Google over 2 years. The first thing out of the five things that make great teams is psychological safety. It was supposed to be the most important factor of the five factors they found. And if that was not there, the other four factors didn't matter. Now, when you talk of psychological safety, I'll take a small segue. How do you, I will use a different word that also was there in all the research I was doing around teamwork: trust. Now, I assume that psychological safety comes when there is trust in the mix, right? Now, how do you build trust, both as a leader, but now at this moment in time, if you put ourselves in the shoes of the individual contributor too? Because see, it's not just leaders who have the job of putting these teams together. The individuals in the team also have a role. So I'm mixing two questions here. The first thing is, how do you build trust in a team? And the second question is, what is the role of the individual in the team to make sure that the team is driving towards success for everybody?
Yeah. So I will answer the second piece. Every individual needs to be aligned and right thing, doing the right thing for to really. And I think that is fundamental. It's not like, okay, we always need a senior manager who can say something with optimism, but individuals are very skeptic, right? That is not a great recipe. So every individual, very well aligned. It's a very well aligned, transparent workplace, um, and every team member is working to actually enable that, right? That's the great thing. And of course, you contribute to craftsmanship, you contribute to quality, you contribute to customer obsession, all those things come as well, right? Now, you talked about the psychological safety, and how absence of that can trigger fear. So I think leaders, managers, and individual contributors can commit and contribute to the right cause around this by making sure, and I will just go through the chronology of thoughts I have around this. One is that we talked about shared vision and being able to articulate it. That creates certainty. That creates certainty, and that is actually great for the safety. That's a fundamental, I would say, foundation for it. Now, I already spoke about status, right? So even if an earlier career person or a mid-level person, whatever they do, they feel that they have great contributions for the right cause. So they have that status, a sense of status in their minds, right? That gives them the safety they need. Also, autonomy. The team is feeling that they are fairly autonomous and able to innovate and do the right thing for the customers. And then a couple of other points I can think of is relatedness. When every individual feels that there is a relatedness with other team members, I'm not alone. I can depend on people. If I am stuck, I can leverage my colleagues. I can ask any question without feeling ridiculed or weak. I think that's very important. So can you relate to your team members, right? And then lastly, do you have a sense of fairness in the team? Where are people feeling that their leaders and their team members are fair in the sense whether it's rewards, whether it's respects, whether it's contributions? Is there fairness in the environment, right? Whether it's performance cycles and things like that. And I think that's also very important. So all of these things actually contribute to the safety, the sense of safety. And that's what I feel. And these things, as a leader, you actually see, very clearly. So this is what I believe in. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So actually, I made a list of the things that you actually talked about. You talked about certainty, and certainty is basically when you know that everybody is focused on the same shared purpose. So there's a level of certainty they get, and that actually creates some level of safety. But one thing that you talked about is status, right? And when I hear you say status, I'm almost feeling, or the word that I'm also thinking about is respect, where they feel respected for their inputs and stuff like that. And autonomy is great, and relatedness, when you talked about relatedness, and I actually was almost thinking about, like, the best thing about a team is when somebody you can depend on somebody else. That was actually a great point, right? Now, when it comes to the actual role of the organization, right, in terms of can you think about a situation where teams are not the actual right answer, or where teaming is not the right answer? What are the times when we should actually take a when do you know what a team is not working? When you say, okay, you know what, call a pause and say, let's do something about this. How do you, as a leader, identify that something is not right in this team? How would you know? What are the leading indicators for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, you talk to the people, right? And you can see that there is a level of distrust. There is a level of uncertainty. There are questions which there should be no questions around that, whether it's around backlog, it's around vision, it could be around their ownerships, it could be around safety. Like they are afraid of either losing their job or losing their portfolio. And these are real conversations where, a leader may say, oh, Jesus, I didn't think people were thinking through these kind of things. I thought that they had a great, portfolio and charter, and they are working on a backlog, but no, they are actually uncertain about that backlog. They are uncertain about the future of that product line, maybe, or in some cases they have a cross-stakeholder, cross-functional teamwork issue. I've seen this quite often, that a lot of times a particular organization under a senior leadership or a mid-level leadership is fine, but the moment they have some friction with their peer leadership people or peer teams, cross-functional, there are problems. There are uncertainties. There is a sense of protection. There is a sense of lack of transparency, and bad things happen where customer is not the central consideration. It's more of empires and all that, right? So you can, as a leader or any manager, can talk to people and just have to ask what is top of your mind, and the questions will tell you what's going on.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense. And actually, I think this is something that you may have heard in Cisco during your time. You spent 21 years in Cisco. I spent 15. In many meetings, we used to talk about wearing the Cisco hat, which is almost like an invitation for people to stop thinking about their own silo and start thinking a little larger in terms of how is what I'm doing helping the larger goal of the organization.
Yeah.
Now, one interesting thing that's coming out of all this entire conversation, Vivek, is when you work in a team, you are basically shifting the focus from you to others. And that's exactly where, and that's one of the fundamental things about teams that makes it the structure that helps for collective success, right? Now, I've been thinking about this entire thing about collective success and stuff like that. And any last thing that you want to add from a perspective of what can we do to foster these environments? Any specific challenges that you anticipate and any specific things that you want to give as an advice to both managers and individual contributors who are listening to this conversation?
You have to give incentive to people to work as a team and put teamwork before individual greatness. What I mean by that is everybody, of course, wants recognition and rewards, but they need to see and hear multiple times that their success and their rewards depend on how well they are lifting others, how they are lifting others, how they are building on others, and of course their individual contributions as well. So when the climate is telling them this, but also showing it, so there is definitely reality in this, that hey, look, you did the right thing to bring X, Y, and Z up to speed, therefore you are rewarded, versus you just did your own contributions. I think that's very powerful. And once that message is repeated and is actually executed on the ground, you will see that everybody is working as a team and they are all wearing the right hat all the time. And of course, individuals are of course growing themselves and also, reaching heights and all that stuff that happens. But I think that's the incentive. So building on others, but also lifting others is a very important soundbite and incentive which we need to demonstrate.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Actually, I remember a quote. I don't remember who said it. You rise by lifting others, right?
Yeah.
And actually, that's a great point where you say that if every member of the team realizes that their success depends on ensuring that everybody else in the team is working in tandem, and if somebody is not, getting them back on track is part of your responsibility as part of the team, and you actually incentivize that behavior, that would go a long way in terms of driving this. So that's I think fantastic. So I love the last insight you provided. Basically, individual greatness, while it's great, just elite performance or individual greatness is not going to lead to, I would say, a multiplicative effect of results that we require for the collective. Thank you very much, Vivek. It was great talking to you. And I want to make sure that I'll call you again. I think it will take 4 or 5 weeks before I get to that topic. There is one topic that's there in my future things, and you mentioned it at least 3 times today. So, growth mindset. We're going to have a separate conversation only on one topic called growth mindset. And okay, but till then,
That's my
thank you.
favorite too, Prasad, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much.